Hey guys, Brian here, and today I wanted to do a quick video on one of the more common backlink building techniques, which is email outreach. This is probably one of the more legit methods, just because you run the least risk of being flagged by Google as spammy, compared to other methods which we'll touch on in other videos. But be prepared when you take this approach. You're essentially reaching out to a website owner that is in an industry or a topic similar to yours and trying to persuade them why some piece of content that you're pitching them is worth them linking to. Obviously, this is a little bit of a game of numbers. You're going to be sending this email to quite a few sites, and not everybody's going to reply or do what you're asking. Just know that going into it. But getting the email right will increase the odds that they're not only going to click through to your article, but they actually will decide to link to it. In this video, I'm going to go over what I consider to be the 4 major components of a successful email outreach. And I'm going to give you an example of one that I received recently that I think is among the best that I've ever been sent personally. And it nails the first 3 things and falls apart on the 4th. And I'm going to share that as an example for you so that when you guys write these emails, you have a better chance of getting what you're after. So, 1. You want to open the email by acknowledging some piece of content of the person that you're sending it to and doing it in a way that proves that it's legit. You're an actual human sending them an email, not a bot, and that you actually read the content that you're talking to them about. And you need to reference a specific either blog post or page, and a little flattery never hurts anybody. Number 2, reference specific parts of that content, not only to again reinforce that you're not a bot, but this is going to be important in a minute, because in order for you to pitch how the content that you're showing them is relevant to them, you have to really show that you have a deep understanding of what they did and what their site is about in general, so that on step 3, you can explain what you've been working on and why, based on 2, you think your content makes a lot of sense for them to share with their readers. Step 4, this is where you have to put on your copywriter hat a little bit. You have to sell why it's useful for both parties for them to link. And it has to be a deeper selling point than just, wouldn't your readers find this interesting or find it useful? They very well may, if the piece that you're presenting is legitimately useful. But everybody says that, and that's been done to death in these emails. It's very likely that when they see a pitch like that, they're going to just read this as another spammy email asking for something, and they're going to move on. I'll give an example of what a pretty strong or compelling pitch will be at the end of the video. For now, let's segue into the email I mentioned in the beginning. I'm going to read it to you, and we'll see what it gets right and where it goes wrong. So here we go. They said, "Hey Brian, I was looking for some information on growing businesses through digital marketing when I found something pretty awesome you created." And then they linked to one of my blog posts. "This is great. Thank you for putting it together. I found this post from Backlink thanks to your post. I follow most of what Brian writes, but I hadn't seen this one." And then he gives a little bullet list of things that he thinks were missing from that and how he thinks he can improve upon that content by providing something additional. We actually just published our own SEO strategy. They pitch it, they give the link. And then at the end of the email that's not in the screenshot here, they go into the very typical, we thought that your readers might find this useful. Go ahead and share it if you like it. I was intrigued in the middle part of this email because, as you can see, they get number 1 and 2 pretty right. It's obvious that this is actually a person reaching out, that they actually read the blog post that they're referencing of mine because they mention a link that I shared in that post and some of what that was topically about. And then they're offering a legit way to enhance that by covering how to track your SEO efforts and marketing, which when I was reading this, I thought that's true. Not a lot of sites talk about tracking. They maybe talk about why you should, but not how to do it. So I was interested. And if the hook had been a little stronger by the end, I would have been more interested right off the bat in linking back to them. But when all they said was, I want you to link to me because your readers find it interesting, and it was clear that they hadn't linked to me, the email kind of read like, "Hi, I'm really complimentary of what you're doing and I support it. I'm not going to support it publicly and I'm not going to, do anything for you, but I want you to do a favor for me. What do you say?" It's not very convincing, is it? So they hit 1, 2, and 3 really well, but they failed on 4 because there just wasn't a reason that really was very strong or that made a lot of sense. for me to link to them in that article. One way that it could have been a lot better is, since the approach of this email is to compliment the site owner with a specific piece of their content that you've read, well, now you've got to put your money where your mouth is. Otherwise, it's a great setup. The one caveat of this approach is that if you're going to be that complimentary of a specific piece of their content that you say that you read, if you value your readers, wouldn't it make sense that you would want to share that content with your readers? And if you haven't done that, then it already comes off as weird. Would have been much stronger if, when you're pitching the article that you wrote, you said, great piece that you did, and it linked me to this other post, and I found a lot of great information there. I wrote this new piece that I thought would be a nice add-on to both yours and the other article that you linked to. Here it is. You'll see that I linked to your article and a couple other resources in there because it was so useful, and all I ask in return is that you give my link a look, and if you find it worthy, would you mind sharing with your audience? It's a very reasonable ask, and you're putting your money where your mouth is because you're showing I've already sewn into you. I support you legit. It's not just lip service, and I've linked to you. You've already got a backlink. Would you mind returning the favor if my content is worthy? And you're allowing that to be up to them. That's a much stronger pitch. Now look, that's not to say that every one of these types of emails needs to be a quid pro quo, where you're essentially saying, I did something for you, do it for me. That's just one way to make this a lot more compelling than it was. Another would be to sell the idea that your content is somehow exclusive. I've covered this topic in a way that most other people in your industry aren't talking about, but based on the kind of content on your site, I think this would be a great fit. And if you link to it, you'll be one of the first blogs talking about this new tips or this new whatever it is. Then you're at least selling the sizzle a little bit with exclusive. You're flattering them. You're giving them an early look at something. Any kind of tack like that is making it a benefit for the recipient to link to your content. And it's not just purely, hey, I'm a stranger you don't even know, can you do me a favor? Because that's not as likely to work. Hope this was helpful for you guys as you write these kinds of emails, or at least start the planning phase of doing that for your own backlink building. And as always, if you have something specific that you want me to cover about SEO or writing related questions, hit me up in the comments or in the contact form of my website, and I'll see if I can include it in an upcoming piece of content. Otherwise, see you in the next video.